So this is a functionality review of this California Audio Labs Icon CD player that I will have for sale locally. It is not the MK2 version, which has some upgrades to it, and they could modify this one to include some Power Boss circuitry for improved bass performance, I guess. But I think usually that would mean it has an additional circuit board kind of near this capacitor area, kind of piggybacking off of it. So anyways, it is not that upgraded version. Let's just go ahead and demonstrate the unit. So I'm going to explain some of these buttons here in a minute. The tray opens up. Not sure if that's the regular speed or not. Obviously you can lubricate if you want to the track that the tray rides on if you want. And I have this thing just plugged into a general integrated amplifier unit. So I hit play here. And this is a Seek. This is actually I found this in the thrift store, the CD. I remember this from my youth. So next track. Hey, Beavis. So I can go back and that's the forward seek, reverse seek, like that. Stop, play, pause. Time mode is basically track length remaining, I guess. Repeat. And this little button pops up here. Music scan just kind of advances through the tracks, I guess, for like 10 seconds. And then moves on to the next track. See, I think it's 10 seconds. Maybe. Yeah, 15 seconds.
Remember that time we partied?
Auto cue.
Yeah, we were cool.
I think. I'm trying to remember. I think auto cue. I have this memory scan on here. Let's see. Oh, I'm still on music scan, so I think it doesn't work with that. So I think what auto cue does is it kind of looks ahead to the next track and eliminates the silence before the track, so that when the next track plays, you don't hear silence, I guess. It's on auto cue, but it starts right away. I'm not sure. I think that's what it does. Tape length has something to do when you're recording onto tape. It tells you how much length you have left on the tape. Side A and B is, I think, similar to, involves recording on tape. It pauses it, I guess, when you're flipping it over. Disc link, something like that too. I think it kind of, you're allowed to pause and work with the disc so that you don't have any gaps. Recall and clear has something to do with programming, which you can't do on this unit without the remote, so I don't have a remote. So the unit's in good shape and it works fully. I can't test the remote functions, obviously, but the exterior of it looks really good, really clean. Took a snapshot of the inside. It was really clean. The one problem it does have is the harness that holds these buttons in and then basically allows them to recoil back into position has some issues. Now all the buttons actually work, but I had to take it apart and try my best to get it to so that the the buttons actually work. So I had to push this one in a little bit hard to get it clear too. I had to push it in to get it to click. The open close is probably the worst since it was used the most. So
I bet there's like some.
got to really push on it to get it in. So what I had to end up doing was taking this front off, and it's like a gel-like harness that encompasses the whole array of buttons. And one side, it's like a flap, and one side's connected, and when you push down, it moves in toward the button on the board and then recoils back. But in order to hit the button on the board, there's like this little cylinder that's sticking out, and if those things aren't lined up perfectly, they won't ever hit the button. So I think over time it just got heated and warped, and it just didn't work right. So I kind of went in there and added some, either clipped a little bit of the cylinder off so that it actually could line up with the button. And so that's why I got to push it in a little bit further to actually touch the button. I also added in some just little metal bands to try to get it to recoil back. And then this one, it was actually disconnected. The flap was actually disconnected from the harness. I don't have a picture of it, so I kind of hot glued it back in the best I could so that it's still connected. Anyways, very high-end player. I'm sure you could buy that piece aftermarket. You know, any kind of 3D printer can make that thing nowadays. And so it's probably reasonably priced fix. And it's really easy to get it off. It's actually a pretty poor design, I think, for why they actually designed it that way. It's kind of odd when you take it apart and you find out how they actually put it together. Anyways, this will be for sale locally. California Auto Labs Icon CD player, made in the 90s, high end. Thanks for looking.